Hello, it's Lon Welsh at Your Castle Real Estate, and I want to try to talk with a little bit more granularity about what's happening in the Denver real estate market. So there's a different slide and presentation that'll talk about the macro for all of the second quarter of this year versus last year, which is, I think, very useful. But if you want to have like a deeper level of insight, we have to like peel back the onion a layer or two. And what I want to do is take a look at the inventory levels and how that's different from one price segment to the next. So the chart that we have here shows you a dashed purple line, and that's the number of new listings added to the market by week for the second quarter of last year. And then you've got a solid blue line that shows the number of listings added per week for this year. And you can see there's this huge gap between the number of new listings added, primarily in the March and April time period at the height of the COVID crisis, where either we were not allowed to show homes at all, or there was so much negativity in the news, people just didn't want strangers coming into their house and they didn't list their home. And when you add it up, you see that there's 4,075 less homes that were listed this year than last year. And that's driven a huge amount of scarcity of inventory, which has driven everything else that you see for market behavior right now. So if you understand what's happening with the new listings, it'll help you understand absolutely everything else that's going on. We were under the idea that once all of these restrictions were lifted, that people would feel safe and encouraged to want to list their homes, and that just has not happened. You can see just in the last 2 weeks that we've had 500 new listings more than we had in the same period of time than we had last year, but that's really just a drop in the bucket compared to the 4,000 listings that we're missing. So let's try to break that down just a little bit. I'm going to skip forward and show you the same slide, but this one is only for the homes and condos between 0 and 300,000. And you can see that we've lost 1,000 listings compared to what we would have had compared to last year, and we've made up 0 of the ground. We're actually still continuing to lose listings compared to historical. So the imbalance, the lack of listings that's making it very frustrating for buyers to buy at entry level is getting slightly worse every single week. It's not getting any better. So if you're a seller of a very affordable home, you are all in the driver's seat. Like, you can totally drive the negotiation process. Let's skip ahead and take a look at the 300 to 500 segments. That might be like a first time trade up. And you can see that during the height of the crisis that there was 2,450 listings that we did not get to add to the market. But recently we've at least added 130. A drop in the bucket, but at least the tide has shifted in the correct way. So if you're trying to trade up into something, say, for $400,000, there's less to choose from this year than there would have been at this time last year. But at least the market's moving in the right direction to give the buyer a little bit more of a fair shot. If we skip ahead and take a look at 500 and 900,000, so this is sort of upper middle market, second or third trade up, it's a very different sort of chart. You can see that we only lost 1,000 listings during the downturn, quite a lot less lost listings than we had in the other two segments, and it was one of the very first to turn around to start adding new listings into the market versus historical. For several weeks now, like 6 weeks, we've been adding more listings than we did in the past. We've added almost 600. So the listings that we lost during the crisis, we've gotten almost all of them back. So if you're thinking about buying between 500 and 900, it's not going to be biased towards the seller nearly as dramatically as it is at the lower price points. It's going to be a much more fair fight for you. Conversely, if you're selling in the 500 to 900, it's a seller's market, but it's not as tilted in your favor as it would be at, say, 250. So there's a little bit of a negotiation dynamic that'll be different at this price point. Finally, if we take a look at 900 and above, you can see that we only lost about 210 listings during the COVID crisis, but since then, we've added 265 more listings than we did last year. So for the luxury segment, we actually have more to choose from this year than this time period last year. So that means it's a little bit easier for the buyer. They have a little bit more negotiation power, not much, but a little bit, and they've got a lot more to choose from. So if you're trading up into this segment, I think as a buyer, you're gonna have a lot going for you. So knowing what price point you're at will tell you an awful lot about who's gonna be driving the negotiation and what kind of selection you'll have in the marketplace.